So within faith formation and religious education, we always emphasize that every single person is important, every person has dignity, every person has rights, every person is special to God and has been created by God. And every person is a unique individual with talents and abilities and a plan and a purpose. And because of that, we also have a really strong emphasis that we try to address at least once a year, that every person has the right to be safe, to be healthy, to be respected by others. That goes for your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual well-being. All of those things are extremely important. So every year we like to look at a more practical side of things, which has to do more with personal safety, internet safety, because all of that is something that is extremely prevalent right now. Everybody has cell phones, computers, access at school, access at home, typically access wherever you are. And all of those things give us a wealth of information and they help us to connect with other people, but those things can also be a danger if used improperly. So the main thing that we want to talk about today is about boundaries. Now, boundaries, for most people, you might think of a physical boundary, like a fence or a door, or a sign that says, no trespassing, something like that. Boundaries can also be emotional. They can have to do with our bodies, with our feelings. Boundaries can be things like, crossing our arms and having a more closed off body language. Boundaries can be things like putting our headphones in when we're on public transportation and we don't really feel like talking to anybody. We want some alone time. Boundaries can be with our words, where we can say, I don't want to see this person, or I don't really want to hang out with this person anymore. I don't really want to talk to this person. I don't want to be partnered with this person in class, things like that. So all of that is a way that we work to create boundaries that we are comfortable with. Boundaries can exist between objects, between people and objects, and between people and other people. So one of the questions after this that I ask everybody to kind of write down what they thought about is thinking about some of the rules that you might have at home. I was not allowed to drink pop before 10 o'clock in the morning because pop was not a breakfast beverage. That was a boundary in my house. Pop was for not breakfast. Kind of silly, but it's a boundary. I was not allowed to be out later than 10 o'clock at night, and that was a boundary. That was a time boundary where I wasn't allowed to cross that or be out past that. So try to think about some of those boundaries that your parents have for you at home. And after you do that, think about boundaries that we get to choose ourselves. Sometimes our boundaries have to do with physical space, with our own personal space. And obviously, that distance changes with whether it's a stranger of the same gender, stranger of different gender, a friend, a family member, a significant other. When you're older, your children, you'll have zero personal space with them. It can also be, a boundary can also be like a line that you won't cross as far as standards that you hold yourselves to. Certain activities that maybe other people in school are doing that you've said, I'm not interested in that, I'm not going to do that. Certain things that friends or significant others might try to pressure you into, where you're like, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not gonna do that. That's my line. And there might be times when people challenge your boundaries and you find yourself crossing your own boundaries. Maybe there's something that you really want to do, a hobby you want to pick up, something that you really want to try, and if people make fun of it or they don't think that it's a good idea, maybe you decide not to do it. So you listen to other people instead of doing something that you might really enjoy or something that you might really love. Or maybe somebody influences you to do something that you know you shouldn't do, something that's against the rules or against the law. And I want you to think about any times that that might have happened and how that makes you feel if we break our own boundaries. Do you feel sad? Do you feel disappointed? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel angry? Just think about those things and think about not just how you feel about the boundary being crossed itself, but how does it make you feel about yourself, and how do you feel about the person or people that might have influenced you to do that in the first place. So our boundaries are things that people should respect. But a lot of times we'll find that there's one or two people in our lives that don't really respect our boundaries as well as they should. People we want to believe that people are kind and good and friendly and have our best intentions at heart, and I'd say that the majority of people do. But there are people that they sin, they gossip, they bully, they say things that are unkind or do things that are unkind. And there are people that do greater sins, evils, that try to hurt or prey on children. And that is an awful thing. But if we have strong boundaries and we know that we have a right to have those boundaries, it's easier to speak up when we feel like those boundaries are threatened. It's easier to say no. It's easier to go tell a trusted adult if we feel like somebody is not listening to us. It's easy to verbally express our boundaries and say, you're standing too close to me. I would really like you to give me some more space. Or, what you said to me really hurt my feelings. I need some time before we talk again or we hang out again. Or with a significant other, you cheated on me. I no longer can trust you. We're not going to be together. And being able to just verbalize those boundaries and enforce those boundaries. And if for any reason somebody is not respecting your boundaries still after that point, that's when you need to go and get another person involved. Whether it's a parent, a teacher, a coach, a grandparent, another relative, a neighbor or a friend's parent that you really trust, somebody needs to get involved and step in order to help you be able to enforce the boundaries that you have. And then you need to extend that same courtesy to other people and respect that they have boundaries as well. And not everybody's boundaries are the same. I have one friend who hates hugs. She's just not a hugger, not a touchy-feely person. Like she'll hug if it's like, someone's wedding, birthday or something. But other than that, no hugs. I'm a very huggy person. I like to hug people when I see them, even if I see them every day. I like to hug people when I'm excited. I like to hug people when we're happy. I'm just a very touchy-feely person, and she's not. So even though I like to hug, I respect her boundaries by not hugging her because I know that she won't appreciate it. And I respect her boundaries as well by asking her specifically if she's upset or if she's sad or something or having a hard time, if she would like me to give her a hug, if that would be comforting to her or if that would just upset her more. And vice versa, if she knows that I'm having a hard day or that I'm celebrating something, she will hug me because she knows that that's what makes me feel loved and feel appreciated. So we respect each other's boundaries and preferences, and we ask questions and we verbalize what we are and are not comfortable with. And that's just something very simple, such as platonic hugs between friends. And those are conversations that you should be able to have respectfully with all of the people that you're close to in your life and even the people that you're not that close to. Because it doesn't matter that you're not legally adults yet. It doesn't matter that, parents and coaches and teachers are able to, assign homework or, rules or, groundings and things like that, you still do have a right to your own body and to your own emotional and mental well-being and your own physical well-being. And you have a right to have boundaries, you have a right to verbalize those boundaries, and you have a right to enforce those boundaries. If it's something that makes you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, you absolutely have the right to make sure that people are respecting you, to make sure that you get other people involved if you feel like people are not respecting you or are pushing you to something that you're not comfortable with. So there's a couple of different activities that are in the packets that went home with you guys that are available for you. And I'd like you to do at least one of them. So for the first one, there's a boundary journal analysis. So it just kind of asks you some questions about like who you know yourself to be. So like the 3 things that you care about the most, the 3 things that upset you the most, your 3 most important values. And then it asks you a few things about who other people think you are, who your parents think you are, who your friends think you are, your church, your school, and then also what we see in the media, what TV shows say that that you should believe or value or be or do. And then it kind of asks you to look at where the similarities are between you and other people and where the differences are. Another option that you have is called boundaries for takeout. So basically, choose a particular boundary that you would like to enforce, like answering honestly, even if your opinion is different or your answer is different than somebody else, or not going along with any activity that you don't want to participate in, or to stop agreeing or disagreeing with people based on what they want to hear and start accurately giving your opinion and your feeling on things. So, and then it kind of goes through the 7 days of the week and asks, what happened that day, how did you respond, and if there's anything that you need to kind of clarify about your own personal boundaries. And then the last thing is, which I believe that this is something that everybody should do, it's probably the fastest activity, it's a You Are Worthy Questionnaire, and there's 20 questions on here, and the responses are yes, possibly, and not applicable to anyone in my life. And these are questions like, sometimes I feel like there's constant drama and difficulty in my relationship with this person and that I have to walk on eggshells. I constantly feel guilty around this person. I feel anxious around this person. I have a hard time saying no to this person. I feel like I don't have any control in my relationship with this person. I'm often pressured to do things I don't want to do with this person. So you're going to go through every question and see if when you read that statement, you can think of people in your life that applies to. Now, if there's any questions that you answer yes or possibly to, that's something to examine if somebody is not respecting your boundaries, or if there's an area in your life that you need to really clarify and more forcefully express the boundaries that you do have. Now, a yes or a possibly doesn't automatically mean that there's a boundary issue. For example, if you say, I'll do anything not to let this person down, you might say yes, but you might just mean, like you really respect your parents and you want them to be proud of you, so you really want to get good grades and stuff like that. That's not what we're talking about. But if it's somebody where, for example, I'll do anything not to let this person down, and you're willing to do things that compromise your safety or values to impress a particular popular person in school or a significant other, then that's where we have a boundary issue that needs to be addressed. So I'd like you to answer the questions on the Google form that follow this video and choose at least one of these 3 activities that we just went over and kind of give some feedback on how that activity went and if there's anything that you discovered from doing it.